And now, to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils Sunday! This is the Let's Go Devils podcast, Season 3, Episode 33, titled Just Believe, because I know I'm believing. I know you're thinking about it, but you just won't admit it. Could the Devil, 11 points out, 14 games to go. Dare I say it? Could they make a run? Is St. Louis coming into your mind from last year? It could happen. Anything could happen. And if you look at the schedule and games at hand, oh boy, you know what? Are closing in on playing meaningful games. I am your host, Sam Wu, here with Beer Baron, Shorts Guy, and Scotty from LA, and Sirius XM. The Core Four is now on together. Yes. The four guys, and I haven't even asked for your opinions because I've been just, behind the scenes when we had our pre-production meeting that I was just going on and on and on and on and on that I'm going to believe. I mean, this is what real fans are made of. Believe, which you can get at Shorts Guy's store. Believe. Purchased 20. I already purchased one because I believe. And if you look at the schedule, and you've seen Mac Black down the stretch, and you've seen Corey Schneider, I think they've got some goaltending. And if you believe me, look at the AHL team. I mean, what? They lose 9 in a row? They look terrible? And now they're playing the last playoff seed, or maybe a little bit higher? Anything can happen, guys. So Beer Baron, am I just talking some gibberish right now? Or do you believe?
Whatever you've been drinking, sir. I think I'll have one, maybe two, maybe three, or maybe a whole case of. I want to believe. I want to believe. I really do. But I want to say that even more important than them finding a playoff spot in this kind of lost season is the fact that they're gaining confidence in the second half, and they're going to be going into the offseason with some confidence of like, hey, all right, maybe things aren't so bad, and we can build off of this. I think that's what's even more important. And I know people are going to be screaming about the draft pick and blah, 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 blah. Listen, I'd rather have this season kind of turn around like it's been, the goaltending and Corey Schneider getting confidence, Mac Black going for that Calder Trophy, all these things that start to spin in a very positive direction. And even if we miss the playoffs by like 6-7 points, at least we were relevant in the second half since the All-Star break. So I don't know if I necessarily believe crazy things have happened, but I'm happy to see good hockey.
Short side, do you believe?
Well, I want to, and I would love to see us make the playoffs. But like what Beer Baron was saying with the whole confidence thing, not only if we have the confidence towards the end of the season, show these guys that they can do this, but it also is, out for any potential free agent moves over the summer to show that, this is a team that's on the upswing. It's not going to be trending downwards anymore. So that could be our advantage. If we play well and make the playoffs, that's phenomenal. I would love it. If we play well and we just miss it, I think that does us great going into the offseason, like Beer Baron was saying, but to bring in the final pieces of the puzzle to put it all together finally, maybe for next year. But yeah, you know what the hell? Yeah, I'll believe too.
Scotty, I want to hear your assessment.
I think I'm gonna go with Beer Baron over here and just say, pass me whatever you're drinking, because I'll take a couple sips of it as well. But
it's Dunkin' iced coffee,
yeah,
and they support the NWHL women's hockey. Sorry, I had to plug that in there. I do that once a podcast.
Once upon a time in a podcast in New Jersey. No, I think that, the way we're playing is very, uplifting for a fan. We see all these young players coming up. We know this season is, we've had quite a crazy year, to tell you the truth. You look back at where we started and where we are now, it's, really, really different. But Mac Black, like I said, playing really well, or everyone else said, playing very well. Like to see him in the Calder race and, get more confidence from Gusev. I know a couple weeks ago, me and Beer Baron talked about just where we saw the team at the end of the season, goals for the team. And I had said to see them at 500. And at that time, I think it was making up about 7 games. We've gone on quite a good run here. So they're looking good and they're playing well. And we're seeing all these young kids, which I'm excited. We've heard about these draft picks. It feels like for a long time, but if you watch the Ranger game yesterday, they did a nice graphic and you see all these kids are just 21, 22 years old. They're all still really, really young, including obviously Hughes, still at 18. So, there's a lot to look forward to. And these guys like, Scott Forey's favorite, Mikey McLeod. We all love ourselves some Mikey McLeod right there. But he's looked good. He's playing hungry. He's playing aggressive. Joey Anderson, Hells Bells, Jesper Bratt. Woo! Can I get 2 claps and a Ric Flair for Jesper Bratt? Woo! He has looked amazing in the past 2 weeks, So to finally see this kid, putting it all together, so to speak, for a stretch here. We'll see if we can do it in a consistent manner. But playing with Pavel Zacha, he looks really good. They're making some magic happen. So I'm happy where the team is. I don't necessarily, if we fall a little short of playoffs, I'd rather us play spoiler like we did yesterday to the Rangers. Teams that are going to be in the hunt and play a little spoiler action where we can. And the Blues game before that, the day before, back-to-back. Two great games in a row.
Yeah, the only thing that I want to see them do is when they call up some of these guys, like I got super excited that they called up that kid that they got in the Vatanen trade. And I think they're sending him back down to Bingo, which sucks. But all credit to what's going on in Binghamton. We talked about it before we went on the podcast. Their record in the first 30 games is like 9-14-5 or whatever it was. That's not 30, but whatever. But then their last 31, I think they're 27. They're 27-3 or 27-4 or something like that. Either way, they've been killing it. They're in the playoff race down there or up there. And Shorska said that you said somebody that's up there that's kind of got an ear to the ground of what's going on up in Binghamton. And what do you want to? Will you tell us about that?
Yeah, no, my my brother lives just north of Binghamton, and they went to a game a couple weeks ago, right before this big run started, and he actually told me about it today. I hadn't realized that they were doing so hot, but yeah, they are pretty much right there at a playoff berth for the AHL playoffs, which then led to the next question from him was, hey, do you want to come to a playoff game if they make it? I think it would be fantastic, but it's great to see them doing that because it's showing it's showing all the young kids we have down in Binghamton that how to win, how to claw back, which is something you always want for them to come up with. Be prepared to win. Know how to win. Know how to come back. Know how to grind it out. Which is something that over the last couple of years the Devils have lacked that ability to grind out a game. The last 5 minutes of games over the last couple of seasons have been terrible. We've lost a bunch of games in those last 5 minutes. So that's what I like to see. It's building character down in Binghamton, which is going to help bring character up to the big team, which is exactly what you want. We've got all these young guys we've been stocking up. This run for them is great because if they can do this and they can accomplish that in Binghamton, well, you know what? The guys that come up will have that experience, and then they can translate it here to the NHL for if and when a run is ever need to be made. Let's say the playoffs, whether if we're all going to drink what Sam has and do it this year or next year or beyond. It's just great learning experience for those guys that we hope to see up here one day.
Absolutely. And to see some of these young kids, like, when Jesper Boqvist was up here on the big team, sometimes he, seemed a little overmatched. It could have been the way the team was playing at the time, but going down there, he's really excelled. And I think him and Jacobs got sent down the other day, and Boqvist 2 goals in the first game back there. So really good to see him developing, because I think he could be a possible candidate for a strong, maybe top 9 type of forward on the team.
Yeah, but you know what? The one thing that I think about too is a lot of these young kids that are getting the opportunity to come up. Hopefully, they get a chance to play. I know they said that this
Just
was McLeod's.
When you say young kids, you mean Mike? There it is, Mikey McLeod. I knew it was going there.
Let me get to my point. It's they have all these guys going on this audition, right? And I know a lot of people are getting upset because they're like, well, why do we have to keep rolling Rooney out, and why do we have to keep rolling Hayden out? And to be honest with you, Hayden and Rooney in that Rangers game put one off the post, and that goal against the Blues should have counted, by the way, or in my opinion should have counted. He hasn't been playing that bad, and Hayden has his moments, and I can't wait for him to punch you in the face, but he's had his moments where it's just like he's skating in sand. But other than that, I feel like he's not as much of a liability as people are saying. So, yes, we'll see everybody get a shot and kind of have more of a chance, 100%. But I don't know. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, or whatever the hell that phrase is. Because right now the team's playing damn good since the All-Star break. Whatever Nasreddine has them doing, they're responding, and they're one of the hotter teams. It sucks because if their record was better by 5-6 in the beginning of the season, when goddamn Taylor Hall was still on the team, that punk, they had certain pieces and a GM and all these other guys. If they could have got their S together, this team would have been contending for a playoff spot right now.
Oh, their S together, huh?
Yeah. See, I caught myself.
I'll tell you what, though, with Binghamton going on this run like this, I don't know if the franchise is going to start pulling pieces from them just to try out for the Devils if the Devils are mathematically eliminated at some point. So the massive tryouts, or that whatever you want to call it, that we saw last year, and we've seen in years past. With Binghamton right on the brink of the playoffs, you may see a lot less of that this year. And in fact, I can see a lot more. Yeah, and I can also see more players being sent down in order to give them that playoff experience, and to get players like it. I don't know what they would do with goaltending. Let's say the Devils are mathematically eliminated. Do you send Mac Black down to go play in the AHL playoffs?
I wouldn't, because what they have going on down there right now is working. But
no, I'm not saying if the Devils are still playing, but at the end of the season, come April, let's say the Devils aren't in the playoffs, do they send Mac Black down to play in the AHL playoffs?
I mean, I'm close to it, but at the same time, that kind of, how would you? I guess they have to understand, because it's it's a job, it's professional hockey, that if somebody came down and they're like, hey, Blackwood's taking your spot, like, thank you so much for getting us here, McIntyre, or whatever your name is, Naga not gonna play goal for us anymore. I mean, I feel like it's kind of like one of those things, like, it would make sense, but at the same time, if they're rolling, let them roll. You know what I mean? Like, don't mess with a good thing. Give Mackenzie Blackwood the rest, because next year he'll be playing in the playoffs.
But it's playoff experience, though, which is something he hasn't had in a while. He's had it in the past, but he hasn't been there recently. So do you send him down to get that experience? And it is the professional game. If any of the goalies down in Binghamton were better than Mac Black, they'd be up here playing instead of him. So he's obviously seen as the top goalie in the franchise. So, it's one of those things where I kind of feel you on that, but at the same time, you want Mac Black to be in those high pressure situations so that when he gets there next year, he's much more comfortable with it, so he doesn't get shell shocked in year one, of being the starter in the playoffs for us.
Well, one can also argue, though, like Sam was talking about in the opening, we do play the Islanders twice. We do play the Flyers. We play Pittsburgh twice. These are all teams that are also going to be in the playoff push. And you can kind of make the argument as well as he can get almost a playoff-like experience through these games, playing up at the NHL level instead. Those last games, we close out the season against the Islanders. I wouldn't be surprised if that actually, is a pretty meaningful game for them. Buffalo before that, but Pittsburgh, Carolina, Philadelphia, Columbus, the Islanders again, Tampa Bay. These are all teams that are in the playoff hunt. So you could make that argument as well. Is it better for him to play these and get a sort of pseudo playoff-like atmosphere, or is it better for him to go down to the AHL and do the playoffs down there?
I don't know, bro, but thinking about all this, like, you made a really good point about how the atmosphere is going to be for them. Shorts guy said before, like, I don't know, actually, it might have been Scotty, one of you two said it's cool to see them play the spoiler too. And if they can't make it into the playoffs, at least they can, ruin the party for some other team that we don't like, aka the Rangers. But honestly, like, from this point forward, I feel like every game is going to start to get amped up. And yes, I feel like they're going to get that kind of like big game feel to it. And all in all, what really matters is you can go to the Rock right now and actually watch an entertaining game and not feel like, all right, how are we going to lose tonight? How are we going to blow lead tonight? Because that's the beginning of the season. That's what every time I went to a game, that's how I felt. Like, all right, how are we going to lose tonight? Like, what magical way are we going to blow a 4-goal lead? Pisses me off is all those games that we blew this year. If we won those games, we'd be in the goddamn playoffs.
They're hurting us right now. They're hurting us right now.
What's so funny that I get so pissed about that?
Yeah, I just love when you get angry. It's funny. Makes me laugh. You're like a clown. You're funny. You're funny like a clown.
I'm a clown, like I amuse you. Matt asked, specifically me, he goes, do you think that Ty will make the NHL roster next year? Dude, he is lighting it up for Spokane right now.
Yeah.
And if he has a strong camp, I 100% feel like he's going to be on that roster. 100% he's going to be with the Devils.
Yeah, there must have been something that they just didn't think he was ready for the NHL to send him back to Spokane for this season, and it looks like he took that. He took that opportunity, and he could have sulked and said, "Oh, why am I not there?" But he's just ripping it up there. So him going there and proving why he should be here has been awesome to see, and he's just been destroying it. I would love to see him up here next year.
Mm-hmm. But also,
motivated too.
Matt made a good point on the Facebook page over here. Something else we should be keeping an eye on too. Arizona. I mean, the West is crazy with the wild card situation over here. Vancouver, Nashville, Winnipeg, Minnesota, Arizona. They're all within a couple points of each other. Vancouver is now the first wild card, tied with Nashville at 76, and Winnipeg at 76 points. Minnesota's got 75, and Arizona's got 7. We really need to be pulling for Arizona and Vancouver to get into those playoffs so we can get our
No.
We don't. Arizona doesn't need to make the playoffs. Arizona doesn't need to make the playoffs. Their draft.
Vancouver does.
So Vancouver does for us to get it this year. If not, then we get it next year. Arizona needs to do whatever the hell. They need to stay out of the playoffs so they get into a lower or a higher draft pick. But the problem is if their pick is it lands in a lottery somehow, then it turns into a 2021 because it's lottery protected. So that's the difference. So it doesn't matter. Like Arizona can make the playoffs or not make the playoffs. We don't want them to win the lottery. Is basically what we're saying.
But we want Vancouver to make the playoffs.
Yeah, we want Vancouver to make the playoffs, but we do not want Arizona. We want Vancouver to make the playoffs and then get bounced in the first round. Like, no, I'm being serious. That's because the longer they're in the playoffs, the higher their draft choice goes.
Yeah, the higher their seed is. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So Matt, you got all that? Make sure. Saying hi to him on Facebook page. And Tim Hayden, when he fights, the Devils are 4-0-1. John Hayden, he can punch me in the face every night if he wants, and then we could win. I'm all about it. Then we'll make a playoff run. Yeah.
Better start traveling with the team.
He says believe every time he punches me.
You walk into the locker room, they're like, all right, bring him in. And Hayden's standing there like just punches you in the face, and then they like drag you out.
Yeah, I know. Just like passed out, like yeah. Oh man.
Just by one arm too. They just drag you by one arm.
Scotty, yeah. would you allow for any additional in between period punches to the face if he's not doing well and he needs another pick me up?
If it calls for it, I'm a man of the team here, and I'll take one for the team if it propels us forward. John Hayden needs to punch me in the face in intermission. Yeah, I'm all about it. Bring him in. Yeah, someone buy me a beer afterwards, please. Yeah. I'm gonna need it.
Just see you sitting in the corner with like a raw steak on your face.
Yeah,
give him the raw steak, like the movie Sandlot.
Yeah,
slapping a steak on your face.
Oh man,
it'd be funny if he. Okay, now we're getting off the rails, but it'd be funny if he was like head or gut.
Oh, I would say
I'm referencing. If you know what movie I'm referencing.
No, wasn't it Not in the Face?
No, it's Last Boy Scout. Last Boy Scout.
Oh,
head or the gut. What do you want? Head or the gut? Anyways, back to important business. One thing that I wanted to ask you guys both, regardless of where the Devils end up in the standings, and we kind of like hit on it in the beginning of the show. One of the things that people freak out about is like you look at the top like number 1 overall pick, and I mean like we went through it last year when we were like, oh my god, we won the lottery. The lottery is not that far away, so it's April 9th, I believe, is when they actually draw.
That's correct.
When they actually have the lottery. So there, no matter where we end up, there is always a chance that you could still win the lottery. You could be Detroit and still pick 4th this year. Do you know what I mean? So that it doesn't necessarily mean like if we suck, yeah, we get better odds and all that kind of stuff. But correct me if I'm wrong, that when we picked Nico, we went from 11th to 1st. And I'm pretty sure that's how it kind of rolled out when we picked Nico Hischier. Somebody in the Facebook group, double check that. But
was that the year we screwed the Rangers?
High?
Was that the year we screwed the Rangers?
No.
No, I'm sorry. Last year we screwed the Rangers. My mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, we screwed the Rangers last year.
And I think last year we went from 6 to 1. I can't remember where it went, but either way, dude, there's still a chance that we could pick in the top 3, and even not like even if we pick in the top 10, this draft is pretty damn deep. And then if everything falls in line, you have those 3 first overall picks, you can package up a pick and a player or do whatever, and either trade one of those back and get a couple of second round picks or do some. It'll be interesting because if Fitzgerald is the GM at the end of the year, and this is something we've talked about kind of ad nauseum, like who's going to be the GM. But if he is going to be the GM next year, he's going to have a lot of room to like play with, and there's going to be a lot of interesting moves this summer because I feel like the owners right now are kind of like, all right, screw it, let's go for it. We're done. This rebuild needs to start picking up pace. Or God, please, maybe I'm projecting, but I'm hoping that's what the case may be.
Yeah, we could be very active on the floor of the draft trade wise if we had those 3 overall picks, which would be a lot of fun to see. But yeah, like you said, this year is pretty deep. So even if we just went into the draft with 3 first round picks, like we'd probably get something pretty solid. But you got to assume too that teams that may be looking for an extra first or this and that, we'd probably be the first team on their list to make a trade with, or to at least make a phone call with, like, hey, how can we get one of your first round picks from you? What do you want? Here's what we have. What would you like? So it would be really great to see that, and to see that active, trading and the kind of like the inner team negotiations. I always think is really neat at the draft, like when they're huddling around their tables and they're sending messengers back and forth and this and that. I always think that stuff is really awesome. So, yeah, we could be doing a lot this year at the draft, and if Fitzgerald's the guy on day one of the draft, and we know he's the guy that's going forward next year.
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah,
I'll be interested to see what pending UFAs are out there, especially, and trust me, Lafreniere or however you say his name. If we got the first overall pick, it is like insanely nasty. But here's word to the wise, okay? All these kids look nasty when they're at the junior level. Jack Hughes looked unbeatable at the junior level. I'm not saying I'm giving up on Jack Hughes, but I mean, it's going to take some maturity and some time and some size for him to be able to dominate like that in the NHL. And don't get fooled by the glitz and the glam. There could be a kid that's sitting at 4 or 5 that might not have that same kind of flash as that number 1 overall pick, but look at any draft and you'll see that there's value up and down the board. So I don't know, man. I honestly, like, I'm interested to see what's going to happen to this team this offseason and what kind of moves they're going to do, what's going to happen with our defense, especially because we lose Butcher for the year. We lose Green to a trade. We lose Vatanen to a trade. This defense hasn't looked that bad. I mean, it's not the best, but it's been kind of serviceable.
Yeah, a lot of merit to be saying that there's players draft that are higher up and better in the draft. I mean, there was a goalie on our team that was the 20th overall pick one year, and it turned out okay.
Mm-hmm. And thank you to Joe. Oh man, I think we need a pronunciation for your last name there, Joe. Stanislaw.
Jersey Joe.
Stanislaw.
That's Jersey Joe. That's our boy.
Lafreniere. Oh, Jersey Joe. There we go. Lafreniere, Scott. Come on, he spelt it out right there for you.
Yeah. Hey,
get it right.
And how cool would it be if we
every time you try
Jack
to say
Quinn?
it comes out like McLeod. I don't know why. It just comes out like McLeod every time.
Me.
At least McLeod can tape his stick properly. Finally. Finally,
That's how we got
someone
called
has
back
taught
up.
that boy how to tape a stick.
Oh,
All
man.
Tennyson fault.
Hey, can we talk about this? Can we talk about Stan is law? Oh. Can we talk about this game last night? So I listen to the Michael Kay show every day driving home from school. I thoroughly enjoy it. I think Michael Kay is hilarious, or at least all three of them together are hilarious. And we might eventually, someday in the future, get Don LaGreca on our show, which would be awesome. Who grew up a Devils fan and then now calls the Rangers. I think he's been calling the Rangers for the last 10 years on the radio. But anyways, they were all talking about like it was kind of a surefire win that the Rangers were going to beat the Devils. And you can't blame them for saying that because you had Zibanejad going off on that 5-goal game against the Capitals. Like, this team has been pretty damn hot. The first period Devils played the Rangers last night, the one thing that I noticed is that the Devils looked lost. 2 goals that the Rangers scored, they left somebody basically sitting in the high slot all by himself. It was like an easy goal. You leave Mac Black out to dry. But then I don't know what Nazardine did during the intermission, but that team was a completely different team in the second. And I don't know if the Rangers were sitting back thinking that it was going to be an easy game or an easy win, especially how they played against the Capitals. But the Devils came out and it just looked like a completely different team and a completely different game. And with all this being said, I guess the point that I'm trying to get to is, do we give Nazardine a serious look as our head coach going forward? Because to be honest with you, look at what this team has done since he's taken over. They've been playing pretty responsible hockey. And I mean, not night in to night out. There's a lot of games where you're like, oh, my God, what's going on? But do you think that he could be a legitimate choice for our head coach going forward?
I guess it's going to see how well the team plays under within these last, couple weeks here of the season as they finish out. I mean, I guess he will get a look, but there are some other, bigger name coaching free agents out there that I think will also get a look too. I think it really depends on how well the team plays, and we got to figure out, is Fitzgerald the man? I think that's the first question right there. Is Fitzy the man? Like, he did a lot during the trade deadline. It seems like he might be, but there's still no definite word on it. So I think that's the first step, though, is figure out who the GM is going to be before we decide on the coach. I got to say, a couple weeks ago, I would have completely passed, but the team does seem to be responding and playing a lot better. When they do have these mental breakdowns like they did at the beginning of the Ranger game, you could see they started to turn it around, halfway through that first period. They started to play a little bit better, and they came out in the second on fire, 4 goals in that second period, and then they kind of went a little bit back to normal in the third there, but they were on fire in the second. So I don't know if he did the old Larry Robinson kick the can routine in the intermission. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But the team, a lot of young players on there. Just lost your captain, Andy Green, as well, via trade. So they're playing well. So they must be responding to something that he's doing. So in that sense, if they continue this way through the remainder of the season, I think he gets a look. Why not?
Hey, I just want to say this. Michael in the Facebook group just made a huge point. He said a bigger name coach does not equal success with a team not ready to compete for a playoff spot. You need continuity. I think he's right in the sense that it doesn't matter if we hire Laviolette or any of these, Gallant or any of these other big name coaches that are out there. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have automatic success.
No, absolutely not. It depends. It's the players on the ice, So have they been trending towards that? I mean, we're sitting here talking about them making up, 11 points in 14 games over here. So to think that next they shouldn't be a little bit better, hopefully we don't have a first half of the season next year like we did this year. I think we kind of had one of those ones for the ages kind of deal. Like, remember the beginning half of this season with the chaos with Taylor Hall and then, Hines and Shiro and just all the craziness that happened, and the hype going into the season as well. So I think we kind of had one of those ones we'll always remember, but I think next year we should have a little bit more consistent first half of the season. I think. They got to play the games,
I think that the end of the season is Nasruddin's tryout for the job for next year. I think it's stupid not to bring in other coaches to at least interview. But at the same time, a couple of years ago when we did make the playoffs against Tampa Bay, we thought, oh, this is it, for as bad season was. And then all of a sudden we make it in at the end. We thought that this was our turnaround. We need consistency. And then the next season just went all to hell again. So, we've already seen what can happen there. So we know that the possibility is that it can all go to hell again next season. But they're stupid not to at least bring in some coaches and to do some interviews. I think for Fitz, his interview was the trade deadline and the moves he made. And if the team makes the playoffs, then that may be his best interview for this job. But again, it's good to bring in other people and talk to them and just to see what's out there. But before you make a decision, I think it would be stupid of the Devils to just like the day after the season ends, say, oh, we want to thank Nasruddin but we've let him go and we're going to start looking for people. Don't let him go unless you know who you want to bring in a sense. Like, don't just do that. Don't just let him go for nothing. But I think he's got a legitimate shot at, at least being in the mix for the job. They got to give him a chance, especially if they make the playoffs. Forget it. If we overtake this,
God.
then he's a top contender. He'll be a top contender for the job. I don't know if it's.
I think it's without a doubt. If they find a way to make the playoffs and this team pulls a rabbit out of their ass and makes it into the playoffs, there's no doubt in my mind that Nasruddin becomes the head coach. No doubt. Because you look at what that means, like what he was able to accomplish. This team was an absolute dumpster fire in the first half of the season. And if anybody's like, well, they weren't that bad, I'll be like, all right, Chris Farley, calm down.
No, they were bad. They were bad.
Bad.
They were a camel. Bad. What was that thing? The camel with the Titanic theme that Sam was playing?
Yeah,
the camel going down like the whole time.
Don't play it, Sam. But
it's Sam's favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, it is Sam. That and the sound, all the sound effects are Sam's favorite. Anyway,
yeah. But I mean, he's got the team playing in the right direction. I feel like maybe if they revamp the assistant coaches on the staff, not to knock those guys because they're doing a heck of a job too. But I mean, honestly, like if maybe they bring in somebody that's a little bit more defensive minded to work with I don't know, just put a stronger staff behind him. I think Nasruddin's doing an all right job. Maybe him and Fitzgerald are proving that they deserve these positions full time. Who knows? We'll see.
And you know what else is happening right now is Corey is playing himself into a trade. Corey is playing.
You said that the other day, and I thought that's such a good point.
He is playing himself in the position to be traded, which is phenomenal for us. If we want to officially say Mac Black is the guy, then Corey's stock is rising. He's doing much better now, and he's playing his way into a trade, into a new team for next year. That's got to be mentioned too. Right.
I like that idea. And Corey has been solid. I don't know what has been going on. If he, was really just struggling, recouping and getting back to that NHL form and NHL level, but he's looked really good those past couple games. I've been really surprised. I've been very happy too for him because that's, taking that sort of demotion and going down there and playing through it. That's a true professional right there.
Yeah, absolutely. He took that all as a true professional. There was one One article I saw that was posted either today or yesterday, I can't remember, but it was a still shot of Corey making a left leg pad save, and in the still photograph, all of his positioning, his gloves, his where he was tracking the puck to, were all just on point, and it looked really good to see him just looking so solid just in that one still photo, and to see that he's playing well now, like that could be a draft day trade.
Ramona just made a point on the Facebook group. She said Seattle is getting Corey. That's another thing point. Too. That expansion draft. Is that this coming off season or is that next off season?
I don't know. When is the
2021 or 2022?
Sam Wu? When's the expansion draft?
I don't know if Sam Wu is able to come on.
Well,
I'm looking up now.
Texas draft. Expansion draft. Seattle 2021. NHL expansion draft rules. Same as Golden Knights followed. Yep. So 2021.
Okay.
So next year. So all right. So let's put it in this way. Let's play this game. So Schneider doesn't get traded at the draft. He comes in. Mac Black and him are one and A-B combo. He plays a solid season where it's like, man, who do you start? Do you start one or the other? And it just kind of like whoever the coach is kind of basically has to make the decision like, all right, we'll go with, let's say they go with Mackenzie Blackwood and they're like, that's going to be our number one. There's a strong chance that he would get plucked away by Seattle. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, like
your dialogue. You have the dialogue in there too. And we go, whoa, I don't know where to start. Is it Corey? Is it Mac? I don't know. Oh, hey, yo.
And I think in the back room they're eating a sub.
I think obviously Mac would be, if Corey doesn't get traded, which, I mean, that's very enticing, on a draft day. It would be ironic too because Corey came to the team on a draft day trade as well.
Yeah. You're gonna want to listen to this.
Yeah, so that would be.
That was before I got blackout drunk at that. The last thing I remember is Bettman coming up, everybody booing, and then he goes, "Okay, you're gonna want to listen to this." And I was like, "Oh my god, what's happening?" I'm so drunk, and then I snuck onto the trade floor, because the security guard that was guarding the area was like, "You can't go there," and I was like, "All right." And then he goes, "Man, I'm hungry." I'm like, "I'll get you food if you let me go down there." And he goes, "Fair deal."
Good.
Could have been an insane person. And I just walked down to the floor, and I was like, "This is pretty wild, and I got to get out of here before I get kicked out." Anyways, that's my trade.
You should have You should have just sat down and started making trades for a random team.
Yeah,
wearing a Devils jersey. All right.
Who are you?
Alex
Who are you? I'm the intern GM. I'm the intern GM.
Is that how we got the Taylor Hall Adam Larson deal back in the day?
Yeah.
Beer Baron snuck in there. It was just like,
Beer Baron of the Thieves draft day.
Yeah, but to my dismay, Corey, it didn't really work out.
Well, we had one good season. But Corey, let's see what he does in this upcoming season. He may, if he doesn't get traded, on a draft day type of thing, he may prove to be a very, very solid. I mean, not prove. We already know he is of that kind of character, but someone who could help mentor Mac Black, and I think Corey would be kind of like how we used to talk about Andy Green. We always wish he didn't have to play as many minutes because we think he would perform that much better. At this age, Corey not getting as many games, might perform a lot better like that with the, proper rest in between. Let his body heal. If those hips are struggling and he can't make those moves, maybe he's got to have that time in between. And this might be a good situation if we don't move him, like you said. Oof, now I'm getting excited for that. That's such a good idea. Ooh, draft day trades.
Apparently, he has a no trade clause, and that's from Michael, who said, "Please correct the error. If Corey is still on the roster, he will need to waive his no trade clause." I don't know why he had to put "waive" in capital letters, but he needs to waive his no trade clause or else he will be protected. Fair enough.
Or
But you
we
would
They're
think-
If they're like, yo,
You would
Corey, you
think-
get to go play with the Kraken, bro. That is such a cool name. That's that's how they sell them.
But
It's
you
real
would think
cool
that
out
the
there,
Seattle
bro.
name.
if the opportunity, I
Supposedly.
think it's leaning towards that way.
Yeah.
Really?
I think that is a cool ass name though.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, you would think that if the opportunity arises for Corey to get traded, and that means the trade for him to waive a no trade clause, he would have to approve the trade too. So, you got to assume that if he's looking for a fresh start, if he's feeling like he's the guy, or he can be the guy somewhere, and the Devils want to make Mac Black the guy, then he'll probably be moving that waiving that no trade clause.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he wants to sit and languish here towards the end of his career and, kind of, I don't want to say waste away, but not do anything.
He's
You know,
never
for
won
the
a
end of
cup
the-
either.
No, and he's going to want to do it. I mean, everyone wants to
Did-
do it, obviously, but
Did they get to did he get to the finals with Vancouver, or was he already gone by the time? I can't even remember.
I think he was on that team where Vancouver
He
lost and then the town just
Were they-
decided to destroy itself.
Yeah, where they rioted.
It's funny
afterwards?
because they would have done that. They would have done that if they won, so it didn't matter.
I know. They went crazy up there in Vancouver.
Oh, they lost
Oh,
their
man.
minds.
Oh yeah.
It's a beautiful city. Unless you
It
lose to
was.
the Bruins.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
release the Corey can. Rich, that was a
Release
nice
the
effort.
Corrigan.
But,
Nice. Way to go, Rich.
it was a nice
We'll give you an A for effort there.
Peter said, "Who are we
But-
going to get to replace? Who are we going to
It's
get
really
to
the
replace
Kraken.
Corey at holding the door?" Yeah, it might be the Kraken. I think that's a cool name.
Really?
And it could.
It sounds like an XFL
Yeah.
name. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of. The Guardian Kraken.
I would have been fine with them doing like the old like SEALs or like pilots or something like that instead. I don't know.
No, you know
I
what?
would've
If
been fine with,
they
like, the
if they could
retro
get
thing.
if they could get the namesake of the AHL, and I don't know whose AHL affiliate plays in Seattle. I forget who it is, but the Thunderbirds is like the coolest.
Thunderbirds.
Yeah, dude. Like they have like this old, like the Pacific Northwest Native American, the whole look, kind of like the Seattle Seahawks, like that whole look.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I'm pretty stoked about it because like half my family lives in Seattle. Like my brother lives out there, and he's excited about it because he's like, now I don't have to drive to Vancouver to see the Devils when they come, to the West Coast. But I honestly I feel like that's going to become a super good rivalry between Vancouver and Seattle, right?
Oh, it already
And-
is in other sports.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's just going to bring another really good rivalry base into the NHL. So we don't have to see the same 4 games on NBC anymore,
Oh, yeah, I hate doing that. And yeah, and that means that if you have family out in Seattle, we're gonna have to take the Let's Go podcast on the road to Seattle in a
Booyah.
private jet.
Let's
Coronavirus
wait a
stuff as
couple. Yeah. Let's wait a little
Yeah.
while on that Seattle trip for time being. I think.
Yeah,
For
for
a
right now,
little.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna wait on.
We're gonna wait on
Until
that
they
Seattle
get-
one.
Until they figure out how to get a
Oh.
flu shot at Walgreens. Oh, we got the flu shot at Walgreens? That should hold
Oh,
me
man.
over. Not to make light of the situation, but make light of the
No,
situation.
we hope if anyone else has any friends, family out there. I know actually I had a friend who canceled his trip down because he literally didn't want to walk through the airport. He was supposed to come down last week and to do a little LA visit, and he was just like, I don't know if I really want to walk through the airport. I'm like, Tom, if you're thinking twice about it, we're not canceling, we're postponing. All right, bro? We're just gonna postpone this until it's actually safe to walk through the airport.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Like to be on a serious topic about this whole coronavirus thing, like how it's going to affect a lot of the game attendance for major sporting events, because people are starting to freak out where they're talking about like closing down schools around here Excuse me.
Well, there's
around
been a
here
ton
for
of
like-
music festivals have all been canceled. You know, I know
Yeah,
South by
Yeah,
Southwest.
South by Southwest. Yeah,
Not-
that was the biggest one.
Yeah, the Miami Music Ultra and all that sort of stuff. You know, waiting to hear about Coachella and Lollapalooza and Stagecoach and stuff like that. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
see.
it's pretty crazy, dude. Pretty
I
crazy.
mean, they've already.
Mother Nature
in-
just giving us the bird.
I mean, in Europe, they've
corona.
already started playing. Europe, they've started playing soccer games behind closed doors. I mean, could you imagine a Stanley Cup final behind closed
Really?
doors and just on TV? Oh yeah, so a bunch of Italian
you know-
matches in Serie A.
That's so
that
funny
would
because
that would be terrible. That'd be like that. Remember when The Rock and Mankind had to do that during Super Bowl intermission, where they had the wrestling match, with nobody in the audience. It was terrible. It was horrible.
yeah.
don't want
The
that.
Baltimore Orioles played a game. I was last
Oh,
year, or the
that's
year
right.
before, and there was nobody allowed in the stadium because there was the riots going on in Baltimore. So there was 0 people, and it was the weirdest thing. And if you watch it on TV, you're like, you hear the guys on the bench talking. They just hear like, "All right, guys, let's do this." All right, like this very weird conversation. Like they didn't know what to do with themselves. Like we can't talk about the blonde in the Fifth Road anymore, and have to have like a
Were they
weird,
playing-
serious baseball conversation.
Were they playing the Astros? Or was it just garbage cans like the entire time?
You just hear like bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Tell that janitor to keep it down.
Yeah, right.
But you know what? That begs to it could happen because who knows how serious this thing is going to get, and who knows what's going to go on. But it could happen where they do have playoff games that are played in front of nobody. Do you know what I mean? And if that happens, like you're just doing it for the sake of doing it because you have to do it. You're not going to cancel the games. I mean, the NBA put out a press release to the players like, don't high five, fans, and don't take pens and basketballs and stuff like that for them to sign. It's I mean, it's crazy. It's
Wash your
serious.
hands. Wash your hands.
Yeah,
Just
wash your hands.
You'll be fine.
I saw
You'll be fine.
I saw a good one that said it was from Texas, and it was like, wash your hands like you just cut up a bunch of jalapenos for a big old thing of nachos, and you're getting ready to like scratch because there's something. It was like this weird long thing, and I was like, you know what, that kind of makes sense. You know,
It
You
all
wanna get
makes
that
sense.
stuff in your eye.
Wash your damn hands. It all
Just
makes
wash
sense.
your hands,
Wash your
yeah.
damn
you don't feel
That's
good,
about it.
stay home. Don't be a dick. Getting people sick out there, you know? Just stay home. You knucklehead. Like, what do you? I got a cough. I got a cold. Stay home. I don't want to get.
Is that
So,
allowed language on this podcast there,
Huh?
Mr. Beer Baron? Is that allowed language?
Is that what?
Is that
He
allowed
doesn't even know he
language?
said
They didn't even know.
Sure. Coronavirus is making us all crazy, all right?
Okay. All right.
We're
Blame the
11
corona.
points out with 14 games to go. It's getting a little wacky out here. If we're all quarantined to our houses, we should just have like a nonstop 24-hour podcast where we just ramble on.
Do you know how much
Ramble.
that would devolve by like hour 5?
It would
knowing
devolve
that
by
there's
like
no-
45 minutes. 45 minutes into it, we'd be like, we're
Yeah.
just doing a normal 1 hour. See you guys later.
You know what we should do? If we do get quarantined and we're stuck in our house, we're going to do a 24-hour podcast. We should have 24 beers, 1 per hour, and we just do a continuous podcast just to watch
Oh my
us
All right.
devolve
Just-
into just a drunken, disgusting mess.
I'm down
Someone
with that.
schlong just showed up on the camera. This is not going where we wanted it to go. Someone barfing
By hour
into a bucket.
13, we'd all be slumped over our chairs, passed out.
Yeah.
At 13,
And-
it would be like hour 4 for me. I'd be passed out. Let's not forget that the one live podcast that we had where I'm like, well, I know where we are, and I'm going to go downstairs and take a nap. At least it wasn't during the podcast. It was it was after we were done. I Ubered it here, and I got drunk way too quick. I'll see you guys later.
That's right. We were like, where'd Beer Baron go? He just disappeared. Anyway,
Very
so
responsible.
Sam is traveling. Sam is traveling this week. We have to
Yes.
mention that. So
Oh,
for
yeah.
any Devils fans, if you're still traveling to Florida,
Mhm.
first of all, flights to Florida are dirt cheap right now. I've looked.
Everywhere.
Flights
Dirt cheap.
anywhere. Yeah.
Flights
Just
down to
wash your
Florida are
hands.
dirt cheap. Yep, wash your hands. But Sam will be meeting up, doing a live podcast together with Nick Villano of the Pucks and Pitchforks blog, if I can talk, and the State of the Fan Address. They will be at Bahama Breeze in Sunrise, Florida, before the Devils Panthers game, and they have a special guest. Do either of you guys know who the special guest is, or no? Wanna
I
take a
know, but I
guess?
don't want to give it away.
Okay. Beer Baron, do you know?
Yeah, I know who it is, but yeah, are we allowed to give it away or?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm just trying to, create some false anticipation.
I'm gonna guess. Craig Billington. Craig Billington. That's what I'm gonna guess.
Craig Billington. No. Proper position, but wrong person.
Carl the janitor. Oh no, not him. Okay.
No, he's gonna be
JP Damphouse.
Oh, I guess he said we could say it.
Yeah.
Oh, we can
He's
say
gonna be there with Chico Resch. He's gonna be eating food with Chico Resch. So, any Devils
Right.
fans down in Florida going to the Devils Panthers game, meet up with Sam and Nick and Chico at Bahama Breeze before the Devils Panthers game in Sunrise. And also, there will be some kind of appearance in Tampa, but he has no idea where yet. So Sam will make that announcement. Sam is was looking forward to plugging this all day today, and
Chico
he
eats
wasn't
again.
Yeah,
Chico
that's what
eats
we're calling
again.
it.
Yeah, nice.
we're bringing it back.
Welcome
food
back.
strikes
They're going to
back.
be playing the "Welcome Back, Cotter" song in the background. It's gonna be great.
Mhm. Bahama Breeze. What a hotel name over there, huh? I like that.
I have to point out something that Cheryl just said on the Facebook group, which is really funny because our good friend Benji, who is very consistent and very persistent, has been asking us when the Devils are going to win the Stanley Cup. Benji, in the words of a GM that I don't care for, which would be Brody Van Wagenen, we're going to win a championship next year and every year after that for the rest of eternity. Cheryl said, I feel like I'm being brainwashed when the Devils are going to win the Cup. So they're going to win next year, Benji. They're going to win it next year. And we'll all be there to celebrate. That, my friends, is going to be one hell. And obviously, Scotty, I feel like you would fly out to the East Coast if the Devils made it to the Cup, because that would be one hell of a live podcast, which we would
Yes,
do
it would.
on the street in front of PJ Ryan's, not in PJ Ryan's, on the street in front
the
of PJ.
street.
On the street. Wow.
Dude, how wild would that be? We'll set up our own stage. We'll talk to the cops. We'll make sure, Kane, legit.
Oh, sure,
That would
yeah.
be-
You're gonna, you'll
We're on
take
the
care of it.
level.
I'm sure.
We're
Yeah,
on the
Make it
okay.
happen.
Yeah,
We will make it happen.
yeah. As we see Scott being led away with his hands behind his back over here, for broadcasting on the public property.
Yeah.
Nah, we'll make it happen. We'll make
That
it happen.
would be
We'll do a live
incredible.
podcast when the Devils are in the finals.
We'll do it if they even make it to the damn playoffs next year.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, of course we'll
Hey,
be there
we'll-
to make it the playoffs, but
We'll do it if they make the playoffs this year. We'll be there for a live podcast.
Jesus, imagine that. Who would have thought? If that whole clip of you know what I'm talking about? That clip of of Paul Rudd. Who would have thought? You and me sitting here, huh? Not me.
That would have
That would
to
just
be
be
the
playing
intro.
on a big screen.
That would-
Yeah, that'd be.
That would have to be the intro.
Oh my god.
Oh man, that would be
It's funny,
great.
if
I
they
would love
made
it
the
if that
playoffs-
happened. Love it.
If they made the playoffs this year, like some act, because obviously teams ahead of us would have to have like epic meltdowns, or like, the Devils would have to go on like a run you've never seen. Like when they won 14 straight. What year was that? They won 14 straight going into the playoffs. They didn't win the cup that year, but they won 14 straight going into the playoffs. And I was like, damn, this team is we're just killing everybody. And that might have been the Carolina Hurricanes year.
Oh,
It could have been that year.
Could be. Oh, we lost that game 7. I remember that. I was there
90
when
seconds.
Carolina scored.
I was-
Yeah, the
I
2
was there.
goals right at the end. Oh my god, that was such a heartbreaker.
I remember
had,
talking to my
tickets
friend
for
on
the
the phone.
first
I was
like 2 rounds. Oh man.
yeah. But
Yeah,
I
we got
think that was
to
the
jump.
year.
We got to jump ahead of a bunch of teams, and you're looking at like Carolina, the Islanders, Columbus, all kind of
Okay.
faltering there,
Are you
falling out.
since I can tell you're looking at it right now. So the 2 teams
I'm looking
directly
at
ahead of us.
standings,
How many points back are we of the 2 teams directly ahead of us?
Directly ahead of us, only
Yeah.
3. Montreal is 71 points. Then Florida's got 76, as do the Rangers. And then Columbus at 79. The Islanders and Carolina all have 79 points. Those are your that's your wild card right now. Carolina, the Islanders, and Columbus.
What we need
it's-
is that thing from Major League. Yeah, we need that pin or the that it wasn't.
We
a
need
pinup,
the
it was
Dumb and
man-
Dumber.
owner.
You're telling me there's
No,
a chance.
no.
That's what we right.
You know what we
That's
need? We need the thing from Major League where every time we win a game, a piece of clothing
You rip a
comes
piece
off.
off.
Yeah, that's what we need right now.
Here's one other little tidbit too: is that we've played 68 games, but they actually tell you the truth. The Islanders and the Hurricanes have only played 67. I thought we had some games in hand, but now we don't. I think we made them up with that back-to-back with St. Louis and the Rangers this weekend.
But we got 4 points, baby.
But we won both of those. We won
Yes, we
won
did.
both of those. And I could see us maybe jumping ahead of Montreal or Florida, but to get past, the Islanders would really have to take a tumble. The same thing with the Hurricanes. I don't know. The Maple Leafs maybe as well.
You don't need both of them. You just need one of them.
Well, there's
To
3
take
of
a
them.
giant
There's 3 of them there, so you need at least 2 of them.
Yeah,
There's
but we
another
always played
3
the
teams
Islanders.
ahead of us.
Yeah, and we played the Islanders twice, so there could be a potential of 4-point swing right there.
Boom.
Like we said, that last game of the season might be something, really interesting.
How nuts. How nuts. If that last game of the season, is that a home game or is that away?
We're away.
I believe that's an
at the Islanders.
away. Yeah.
We are away.
Man, should we take a road trip to Nassau Coliseum? Us on the brink. If we're on the brink, if that's the game.
I already
That's
may
the
be
game.
in attendance at that game, depending on how my schedule works out or other things. So I may already be going to that. But imagine that game had all that significance. That would be pretty wild. So
That would be insane.
Oh my god! All right, who's closing? Let's do our final thoughts, and then we'll get out of here because the music's playing.
all right,
Okay.
I'll start with
explain.
a final thought.
Go for it.
We have a chance. It's gonna be a tough one, but at least if this team makes progress towards the end of the season, it's a tryout for a lot of people, and it's it makes it look a little bit more worthwhile for free agents to come here. So strong end to the season, even though we'll be back before then. But the Rangers suck.
Yeah.
I'll
Trash
say-
Gary Beamer.
I'll say that I'm looking forward to the last couple of weeks of this season here to see some of these young players, to see them developing, especially Jesper Bratt, seeing Pavel Zacha finally start to play a little bit better, Damon Severson as well. But we did talk about some goals for some of these players, and Kyle Palmy sitting 25. It'd be really nice to see him get 30 goals if he can get 5 more on these last 14. And also Nikita Gusev is at 31 assists for the year. Love to see him maybe push it to that 40 number. We'll see what happens, but these guys are starting to perform, and it makes me feel good about the future for the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, and honestly, Tim Clark just said final thought. Kappa looked like a clown when he hit the boards. Hughes juked him, and it's true. I think that they're going to make the playoffs? No, but as we said, we just want them to play meaningful hockey down the stretch, get some good games under their belts, get some some young kids up from Binghamton. Hopefully, Binghamton can go on a long run and maybe compete for the championship in the AHL. That would be nice for a lot of the development for the younger guys. Either way, my friends, it's a goddamn pleasure to do this show every week. Everybody stay safe, have fun, and remember, let's go
Go Devils!